Hello, welcome back, everybody, to another live show. I was about to say Wednesday Night Live, but it clearly is not. It is Sunday, following week 2 of the finals series. So let's have a look at both the games, how it happened over the weekend, and we'll just go on about a couple of the news stories and things like that as well. As always, come in, have your say. Throughout the show, plenty to discuss, 2 cracking games to talk about. 2 teams really stood up and flexed their muscles, while 2 packed their bags to go over to Bali. Boys, Trav, how's things, mate? That was a cracking weekend.
It was weather-wise for up here where I live, and the fact that I'm on holidays. But in terms of the footy, I wouldn't say cracking. I'm a bit disappointed with those 2 games, to be fair, in my opinion. But I won't let that bring my beautiful holiday down.
Jakey boy, how's things, mate?
Yeah, no, things are very good. I thought the footy was okay as well. I'm on the same boat as Trav there, to be honest with you.
What is going
overall?
on?
Yeah,
you see the same thing as me.
What?
Your internet and it's just not pairing up at the moment. You are talking, and then about 3 seconds later, actually 5 seconds later, your mouth starts moving. So hopefully it starts catching up. You're a bit blurry as well. It's not happening for you so far to start the show, but that's all right. I'm sure it'll catch up. It'll get back to normal. Let's get into our player of the round. So we've got the vote up at the moment. So go ahead, get to our socials and cast your vote. You get 2, obviously, one in the Instagram and then one in the Facebook page as well. So Trevor, I'll ask you. Nico Hines, Nathan Cleary, and Paul Alamotti is the choices for this weekend's games. Who are you going for?
Oh, what a hard one. I actually found that really hard. And then, to be fair, like, Alamotti was fantastic, but the dude on the other end was, I think, almost as good, if not better than he was not the other end, the other side, in Toto.
Yeah.
I thought Hines was fantastic as he was as he dragged the Sharks around the park, and I reckon and got them that big win. But I thought Cleary and like his game management today was absolutely brilliant. But I'm just going to go something different and give it to Alamotti. 3 tries, 240 meters. Yeah, pretty easy to give it to him.
He was a standout. Jake?
I think as good as those guys were, hopefully this is coming through properly. Nathan Cleary gets that for mine, and it's not even close.
It's still not. It is still not. I am giving it, though, to Nathan Cleary as well. He just put on a masterclass once again, back-to-back, in my opinion, weeks where he just has turned it up in finals series and just shown what he can do. It's absolutely fantastic to watch. And as a neutral, obviously coming in with your team not part of the finals, sit back and just enjoy watching that sort of rugby league. I just absolutely enjoyed a lot. So we'll obviously dig a lot deeper into this as we go tonight, but there is plenty to talk about there. Before we get right into the things and we talk about, obviously, both games, a couple of little issues around the game that we just want to talk about, some news point of view. So first one is Toby Rudolph. So he does escape his a suspension for his direct hit onto Tarpany, which it's fair to say was quite forceful. It was forceful enough to break his nose. So it was not the best look that we've seen. Trav, I'll throw to you first. What were your thoughts around this one? Was that fair for Toby Rudolph to be eligible to get away with only a fine for that shot?
Yes. Yeah. To answer your question straight away, I watched it at the time and thought, well, I could see him being sin bin for that, but I wouldn't have taken it any further than a sin bin. He didn't get the sin bin. I think he just got it was just a penalty. It was I like the grading for it. Careless high tackle. I think it was careless. I don't think he had I get the force issue that he caused a broken nose, but yeah, I don't have too many issues with that. I think it was pretty fair. I think a sin bin should have been given, but I'm happy without a suspension.
Let's try, Jake. He's gone. He's come back. He's still very blurry, but let's see if the audio part of it is okay. Jakey boy?
Yeah, I actually have to say that I agree with Trav on that one. Hopefully this is, again, coming through. No good.
I just go. We can hear you. It's all good.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll just talk through it. Yeah, I think that I actually almost, if anything, I was going to say almost the opposite. I thought that a penalty at the time was fine, but I almost would have expected a 1 week suspension potentially, like on review, which I think is interesting. But no, I'm okay with the way it happened. Like, I don't think that I'm sitting here going, freaking out. I think it's fine.
I'll be different here. I'm actually pretty shocked that it is what it is. I thought it was quite forceful. What I don't like about this, the whole thing is, at the moment, is it feels like we're in finals football, and it seems to be the topic every time we get to it, is the fact that it's a different kettle of fish. It's a different set of rules, and you can't be rubbing people out of finals games for that sort of thing that would find them probably missing in a regular NRL game. If you do the crime, in my opinion, you do the time. It's well, yeah, he'll just cop it anyway. But it was a fair one, the last one anyway. So, I just think it should. I actually think it warrants a suspension. It was forceful. It was forceful enough to break a nose. Like, I just feel like it's not a great look. I'm not going to be crying out and saying it's an absolute stain on the game. Like, it's not one of those decisions. I just think I don't like the whole, it's a finals game. You'll hear a lot of the players and that will talk about it, the past players and that throughout the week. But I just don't think it's a relevant excuse. I just don't think you're willing to do it or risk it. You've got to be able to actually cop the punishment. So, and I've got a Sharkies fan agreeing with me, which is great to see. So, boys, I don't know what you're both going for there. You want to see the strongest players there, the lineups, which is fair, but I think if this is during the regular season, you're both saying this should be a suspension.
I'm not saying that this shouldn't be a suspension because it's finals at all. I just don't. I don't see too much force in this. Like, obviously, I get that the force through is that his nose is broken. I think he's just hit him perfectly. But like, I'm watching the replay now. Like, it's just that he's literally just put his arm out. Like, it's not like someone like a few weeks ago when it's not any of those hits where they drop and shoulder lead or do any of that hasn't been given any suspensions. And we've seen bulk amounts of those not called. Like, he literally just puts his arm out, and unfortunately the arm goes through his nose. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be suspended because it's finals. I'm actually saying I agree with you. Do the crime, do the time. But I don't have a massive problem with that. Like, it was a bit, if anything, it was probably a little bit dopey. Like, he's just put the big arm out, and unfortunately he's just had it high, hasn't brought it down. That's why I reckon a sin bin, because it went through his nose, it's caused an injury, is sufficient. But yeah, I'm comfortable not even having a decision around a suspension at all for that.
I was actually surprised there was no even talk, it felt like, of the sin bin. So that for mine,
there was no talk about that, eh? Like, it was never anything other than a penalty.
I said straight away to the misso when we were watching it, I was like, I think this is a bin here, and then it just felt like it wasn't talked about at all between the bunker and the referee.
Didn't get any traction. You're right. Yep.
We'll pause for an awkward 3 seconds. Let Jake come in.
Is it working? I think it might be working better now.
It's better now.
Yep.
Yeah, I just hotspotted myself. This should be fine. I was just going to say, it's so hard too, though, because throughout this whole season, all we've seen is inconsistency. So, like, what are we basing it off? That's the hard part right here. So it's like, are we basing it off what's happened in the normal season? Because they weren't even consistent then. So bring it into the whole, like, finals changes things and stuff like that. It doesn't even come into play. It's just that they probably would have done this in any regular season game because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Let's get into the Radley situation as well before we get into deep dive both of these games. Or plenty of talking points to come as well there. But the Victor Radley punishment obviously happened late last week, and the Roosters have just not effed around here. Basically, they've gotten on the front foot. Nick Polite has obviously made a huge statement at the start of the year when everything was happening with the Broncos and South with Latrell, things like that. Probably a bit of to put pressure on both clubs. It's backfired once again, like it sort of did with Gus last year when he made some comments on air, and then it forced him into sacking Josh Adokar as well. So it sort of come back and bit him on the arse a little bit, but at the same time, the Roosters have sort of stood for pretty much what they believe in. I know it's not the sacking altogether, but it's really harsh. It's not maybe not a harsh penalty, but it's a very severe one. It's 10 games. It's one more game more than Ezra Mam got. And the fine monetary wise, I forget what the actual figure is. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot of money. 30K. I thought it was way more than, I thought it was like 200K or something.
No,
30K, 10 game suspension. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
10 game,
and then no what pay. It is 10 games of no pay as well. That's the crucial part there as well. Jake, what do you think about this one? Is this a harsh or a fair punishment, what the Roosters have dished out to Victor Radley?
I think it depends on how you look at it. I think that it's a harsh penalty if you look at I think that with what Nick Politis has come out and said before, where he has a no drug policy at the club, I think that makes it a soft penalty. I think that means that they want Victor Radley to stay at the club, so they're kind of going, hey, here's this. And realistically, let's admit it, with the amount of money that he makes, like that's probably a bit of a slap on the wrist for Victor overall. I'm going to say it. I know it doesn't seem like it for us, regular people who don't earn hundreds of $1,000s a year, but I feel like that's not that big of a deal for him. And, you know, you come out and said, like, you have a no-drug policy, you get rid of anyone in your club if they do drugs and stuff like that. Well, he hasn't done that. So, if you're looking at it from a Roosters perspective, I've almost say that it was soft, but it's a harsh penalty at another club, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it is a really tough one to talk about as well. We have to be careful just in terms of it. There is a court case still happening. We do have to make sure we make everyone aware of it hasn't been proven that Victor Radley took anything, did anything, things like that. Obviously, everyone lives in this world that we're in. I think we all know sort of the talk and that and how the lingo happens. And I think we can all piece bits of the puzzle together and make our own assumptions. But let's just make sure we're very clear that nothing has actually been charged for yet. So I feel like, in a way, Trav, the Roosters were sort of put into a corner with their hands tied behind their back a little bit, because they couldn't really say to Radley, you're sacked, because at the moment there's technically not full on, okay, he's done it, unless they've had private conversations and Victor's owned what's happened.
Yeah, but that hasn't come out yet, so it's hard to have
we
an
won't
opinion.
know that.
And we probably don't find that out anyways. I don't like it. Like, I understand Politis' take, but I don't like it just yet. Now, maybe once all the evidence comes out, the case comes out, everything comes out, then I'll change that opinion. But right now, I'm not happy with it. I'm looking at what did Addo Carr get last year?
He got sacked.
He got sacked and got picked up straight away. But he missed one game and then got sacked, didn't he? It was the game before the finals. So he got suspended for that one game. They said he was going to come, and then he got sacked and went to Para. What did Mitchell get?
I got a one match suspension, I think, in a fine.
1 match suspension, and there's a video for it, right? So there's a video of him actually taking it. Yeah,
yes.
Addo Carr got caught on the side of the road and then denied it and lied about it. Nothing's come out about this yet, other than a few text messages that came through legal proceedings to get him off Brandon Smith's phone. We don't have a video of him actually taking anything. We don't have anything. Like, at the moment, we just have absolutely nothing. So I don't like it just yet. So I'm going to hold too much judgment and wait until some things come out, because I'm not entirely impressed with it.
As in, you're not happy with the way the Roosters have handled it so far?
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. I don't think he deserves 10 matches, $30,000 donation. I don't think he deserves anything just yet, because all it is just a few text messages. And then you compare that to the Ezra Mam, you compare that to Latrell Mitchell, you compare that to Addo Carr. I don't like it. I'm not happy. I don't think that's right.
The Ezra Mam one, to be fair, we've all agreed on that's easily too soft of a punishment, and it was a laughable. It wasn't even like in discussion. That one was handled poorly, and we all agreed on that one. That's fair. But with this one, as much as we all know what was probably in those things for Addo Carr and for Latrell, technically there was no evidence almost. They only brought the game into disrepute, whereas this one there's text messages, and we all know what an 8-ball is. Like, we all know what he's talking about. That's almost guaranteed, if that makes sense. But I understand what you're saying. It hasn't happened yet. It hasn't been officially, like, he hasn't been charged with it 100% yet, kind of thing. So I'm sitting here going, I get what you're saying. They could have waited to see what happened, I guess, but it's tough.
They definitely could have waited. I reckon it's the Roosters basically just saying in-house, let's just get it over and done with now. I believe the RLPA are watching it closely. I don't think they're happy with the whole 10 games, basically no pay. I don't think they like that. I think there's a percentage thing going on in the background that apparently doesn't quite meet the standards, what is with the NRL and the agreement with the RLPA with monetary fines and things like that. So that's one to keep an eye on. I just feel like it's the Roosters. They've made the big statement. They want to clean up their act as a club. There's been talk about their culture not being quite where it should be for a couple of years now. So I think it's them just being on the front foot. Could it blow up in their face if the court case happens and nothing's found? Perhaps. But at the same time, I just feel like to come so strongly and for Victor to basically own it straight away and say, yep, I accept the punishment, it just makes me feel like there has been some in-house conversations had that we won't obviously know about, but it just feels like there has been some really big discussions there. And to be fair, I'll credit both parts of this one because Victor could easily kick up a stink here, get the RLPA really involved, get lawyers involved and go to town. But I reckon he's owning this. He knows it's been a really poor choice from himself. Whether or not it's the first time we don't know. We can't comment about that, but he's made a really bad decision here. And I hope the RLPA stay out of it because I think clubs should be able to start to enforce their own sort of punishments here and stand for something as a club and their messages to to their own fans and then to the players as well to say, no, we're a professional organization. We do things this way. We don't go ahead and do it the way that you guys have been doing or what's been alleged to be doing. That's not on. So I actually applaud both sides of it, the Roosters for the way they've done it, the punishments involved. I think the players need to start acting a lot more sensible than they do. This is in the season, remember, as well. Like what's been alleged is literally in the season. To even be thinking about participating in that sort of environment and doing that sort of stuff, peak season as a professional athlete, if I was a head coach or CEO, I'd be absolutely disgusted in my players doing that. I just think it's a really poor choice.
It's really bad. It was a really...
I don't disagree. I just think wait until everything's put together. Wait till the evidence is out there. Wait till we can see that things have happened. At the moment, he's been given a punishment for no actual guilty crime. So, just wait. And if it comes out, if it literally comes out that he's done this, which more than likely it has happened, but if it comes out that this is what's happened and that he's actually done it, then I'll go to town and I will. I'll change my opinion. But right now, it's because full well, Joel, what my opinion is, and I've been very outspoken about it on this podcast. But until then, I want to wait. I don't like that they've gone out here and done something because there is the possibility that something comes out that he hasn't done anything. He's made a few stupid text messages and that's about it. And now he's got a 10-game suspension and it can be redacted. I get it. But yeah, at this point in time, it's on his record. He looks shit for it. Wait until it comes out.
Just on South and the Smith stuff, the South Sydney Rabbitohs can't do anything about this at the moment, just while it is in the court case. So they actually do have to wait till it all is resolved and it's been adjourned for I think 3 weeks. So it'll be another few weeks until we hear anything about that. That means for the Bunnies and also the NRL both can't act on that and give Brandon Smith any sort of punishment until it's actually being resolved. So we'll see what happens there. Let's talk about the games, shall we? Today was an absolute masterclass by the Penrith Panthers, and I got criticised pretty heavily. I did my power rankings, obviously, coming into this weekend. I personally had Penrith on the top spot. I really liked what I've seen from last week against the Warriors over there in New Zealand, a really slippery conditions there for them to play in. And I just thought they were in about second gear and they cruised by and got it done. I thought they'd win 13 plus today. I said it all week. I thought they'd give the Dogs a bit of a spanking, which ended up happening. They were just an absolute class above. And we can go across the park, which I'm sure we will do. We'll give certain players raps and things like that. But I just think the organisation as a whole, what they're doing at the moment and where they're at, I would not want to be a team left in this competition. If I'm looking at it as the Broncos, Sharks, or the Storm, I'm absolutely shitting myself because I think they showed today almost just as good a performance as they have done throughout the last 4 years. And that is just terrifying. They were absolutely on fire against as well a crowd that was clearly against him. It was literally about 80-20 when it came to the crowd and Dogs fans versus Penrith fans. To turn up and do what they did, to start like they did, absolutely sensational stuff there, Trav. That was just Penrith at their best.
Yeah, it was absolutely masterclass. Completion rate was high. A lot of runs, a lot of run meters, limited errors, a few offloads. Like it was just, and everything was exactly the way Penrith want to play. Just not that full line. Like the Penrith want to have clear control of the field. They want to have clear control of where the ball is. They want to pin you down on the goal line, and they didn't have that. They really didn't have that like domination of field possession in terms of where the Bulldogs were. But the Bulldogs just didn't get anywhere. Like it just looked like they just couldn't do anything with it. And Cleary just kept managing them back onto their back, and they just couldn't get through the line. It was the defensive masterclass. And Chris just said before, that first half was, other than I think really the only other half I can remember as good as that half was the Storm versus Tigers first half. And the difference being is that was just a random game in the middle of the season. This was in an elimination final. Like that was just absolutely, phenomenal to see what they did and the way the Penrith played today. Am I scared as a Storm supporter? No, I'm not. I think Penrith is still vulnerable. I think they can still be beaten. They're not the Penrith of the last 4 years that I have actually feared and seen. But do I want to play them in the grand final? I'd rather play the Broncos if I had a preference. But I'm not scared.
That's it. That says it all there. Jake, what are your thoughts? Opening thoughts on the Panthers' performance?
Because I was going to say, unfortunately, I think that you will be versing them in the finals if you make it there, because I don't see this team losing next week. I can't see it. They honestly, you put any team in the competition, in form or not, against the team that just played today, they are not winning that game. Panthers played as close to perfect as you can get without being perfect. Bulldogs, they honestly came into that game and it looked like they had intent. They came into it in the first maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes. They looked like Viliami kick out charging that kick down in the first set. So they've come to play right at the very beginning of this game. But then Panthers, as you said, even despite losing their first challenge in 2 minutes and conceding 2 points down, they just immediately went straight back into attack mode. Like they scored in the next attacking set straight away.
That was an absolute monumental mistake that the Bulldogs did for not going for 6 points there or for a try 100%. And taking the cop out too. That was, and I reckon Penrith, as soon as they saw that, just went, "We've got you. That's it. Game over."
It's hard. It's a difficult one because specifically with that one, like you're right in front and you're versing what is, as we all know, the team that's won the comp last few years in a row. Like you take points where you can get them in a final, and they had the opportunity for 3 easy points. I get both sides of things, but I'm also kind of like, would I have taken that in that situation? Maybe, like to be honest. But it's just if they had been able to take it and get that try at the start of that, it brings the crowd into the game, which then changes the entire momentum. The crowd was not brought into that game at all at any point. The Panthers took it out of the crowd's hands. I think
they did an amazing job. To get that crowd as silent as they did was absolutely phenomenal. There's a question earlier from Dave was just about, did Edwards deserve the sin bin for the kick-out incident or penalty sufficient? Did he deserve one? He obviously didn't get one. Jake, do you think it was a sin bin incident or do you think the penalty was sufficient?
No. I think, honestly, they had to give the penalty because there was hands-on, but let's all be honest here. He touching him did not affect that play. Kikau's dropped that ball. Whether he touched him or not, he didn't. That penalty had to be given because it was very clear he had hands on him. But let's all be really honest. He didn't push him. He didn't grab him or move him out of the way. He touched him because he was running into him. That's it. That's all there was to that. No sin bin. Penalty sufficient. Honestly, probably shouldn't have even been a penalty, but they challenged it and off you go. But
no, I agree with the penalty. I think that's a no-brainer. It's an easy penalty to give because of what the situation and the way it was. But that's it. I don't think there's a sin bin at all. And I think we'd be talking 100%. About that a hell of a lot more about that being a sin bin than the Rudolph incident if it was, because I just don't think that was sufficient for that.
I also think it was probably one of the worst challenges we've seen in a long time, unfortunately. And I feel like Cleary and Yeo got a bit caught up in some wording that wasn't quite the way they thought. I remember the referee saying to him, he goes, I'm saying that he was grabbed, and then Cleary straight away goes, well, he wasn't grabbed as such. When we obviously went back to the replay, it was sort of like it was just very clearly. It wasn't like a grabbing motion. So I guess technically the way Cleary wanted to challenge it was right, but it wasn't. It was very clearly a penalty in my eyes. And it's interesting because last night we watched the Raiders go on the all-out attack when they got those penalties early on, and they just wanted to get the try, which they ended up doing. And you thought that probably would have tied the Sharks' defense out. We'll talk about that game shortly, but it clearly didn't. It would have just been interesting, Jay, because you make a really good point there. When you've got a massive home ground advantage and a home crowd with you I get a big game, and we all thought probably a lot of people out there thought that would have been one of those real close encounters again. I think the last time they played, it was only 10 points to 8 where Penrith got the job done or something like that. So it was a very close game. So the Dogs are probably thinking, I think Dogs got them in the last one. No, Penrith won. It was like Cleary charge down and things like that. So,
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think the Dogs will probably come into that going, if we win, we're going to win this game 12 points to 10 or something. So we need to get points and maximize that when we can. And unfortunately, it just sort of backfired. And then that following set, Penrith just literally took control of this game completely. There was a little moment here and there where the Dogs did get one or two tries, but throughout the whole game, the way Penrith just orchestrated everything they went about, they were moving the ball side to side. Like I remember Matty John saying last week, and I mentioned it in our preview show, that when you come from a wet game like they did over in New Zealand to come and play a Sunday afternoon game where it's a dry track, you can actually move the ball around, you feel good. You actually notice those teams go to just a completely different level. It's like they're all of a sudden running on they're a sprinter and they're running on track instead of running on grass. They just go, wow, this is amazing. And I think we saw that with the Panthers today because their first two tries both involved basically sideline to sideline movement where the winger just basically went over untouched. And it was a Penrith performance, Trav, where we know what they can do in terms of getting people down in the really the dumps and just going, yeah, come with us. We'll stay here all day if we have to. But we got to see today a lot of this attacking outfit that I think a lot of people have forgotten about when it comes to Penrith.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of what I was trying to say before. Like it was a Penrith domination and it was kind of a game that we expect the Panthers to do, but it wasn't like that grinded out game where then they've just grinded you, you then make an error and then we capitalize. Like it was different. It was more attacking, like to have both wingers get over 200 meters and do what they did. But I think this week I really liked what I saw in the middle, which was a little bit different. Which has been a little bit different to the way Penrith have been playing for most of this year. I thought Leota was a monster inside. I thought Yeo was really good inside. I like the way that they played through the middle today, which was a bit different to what I've been seeing them. And that's ominous. That's particularly ominous for next week, because if they can do what they did again this week for the Bulldogs, because we know the Broncos love to do that through Payne Haas, right? And no Carrigan is going to hurt them. So, I really liked seeing that middle play that the Panthers were doing, which because didn't you see what they did with like how Cleary played today, because that was a bit different to the way we know Cleary plays too. So when he was able to play off the back of those two boys, and then the big boppers through the middle, Cleary looked so much more free, looked so much more like he could go and show some of the talent that people are telling me Cleary doesn't have. And off he went. Like I really liked it. And then when you know that you've got and Toto and Alamotti didn't just get their meters from kick returns, right? That 200 odd meters that they've got, that was through just pure class. Yeah, that were phenomenal.
Jake, Trav just spoke about it now, and I can't keep talking about him high enough because Nathan Cleary, once again, just an absolute masterclass. We both have him as our player of the weekend, obviously. So shows you what we think of his performance. But 2 weeks in a row where, firstly, his kicking game was just next level. It was just a reminder to everyone in the comp. Last week was wet weather. It was like a bar of soap, the ball skidding everywhere, and he just put it in the spots, kicked early almost every time to show just why you do that, open spaces, things like that. Today, 40-20s when it was needed. The kicking game was just phenomenal. So Cleary, again, just reminding everyone why he is the best in the game, and it comes to this time of year, he just goes to another level that we haven't really seen any other player be able to go to since probably the likes of Cameron Smith.
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah. No, we can't now. So
I'll just jump in there. One thing that we keep hearing is Penrith could be the first team to win the premiership outside the top four. Well, the Sharks are still there too. They finished 5th. Don't forget the Sharks are still there. Don't sleep on them. I just thought I'd pull that out whilst we wait for Jake to come up.
Talking about Nathan Cleary. So, sorry, that was just a bit of a break there. But all right, you've talked about his kicking game, and we all know what his kicking game is. I don't really think we need to discuss that further. What I would actually like to talk about today, in my Nathan Cleary speech, is support play as a halfback. That's what he did best in this game, in my opinion. Every time there was a break made, every time he just needed to be sniffing around where somebody was just to be the next person to get that offload to, that's what he did. And he did it beautifully. There was one where he shifted the ball across the Tungo, who hit Alamotti, who then, where was the next person in line? Nathan Cleary, just chasing up on the inside. There was one point where I think he passed it. Who's the left second rower? I think it was. Some point he was sniffing around behind somebody on the left, and then he's shifted it out, and it's just worked out beautifully again. Liam Martin, thank you. He just supported really well today, and I think that, in addition to his kicking game and obviously his regular marching everyone around the park, he's just probably the most. Everyone says he's the best player in the NRL. What I would argue is he's the most complete player in the NRL. He can defend, he can attack, he knows exactly what he wants, he knows how to tell everyone else what he wants. I don't think that currently there is a weakness in his game, and that's the scary thing.
Origin maybe, but we won't go there tonight.
Well, yeah, but we're not in Origin. And especially, has to be said, especially finals Nathan Cleary, double what I just said. Everything just goes to a new level.
But that argument pisses me off, Joel, because that's not an issue with his game. That's just an issue with the moment of that game. Like Nathan Cleary is flawless. Like his talent is flawless. Like you've summed it up, Jake. Absolutely. He can run. He breaks lines. Maybe if there's a weakness is that he's not agile. He's not athletic. He's not, he doesn't have that, but he's still pretty freaking athletic for a halfback. But maybe that's like literally the only weakness he's got is that he's just not super quick or super athletic. But in terms of pure blown talent, ball skills, all that sort of stuff, the
Tom Brady of the NRL.
It's just the fact is that he just can't, or not can't, but just hasn't been able to step up in Origin. I don't think it's career defining, to be fair. But I don't think that's a fault in his game.
Going to their opposition today, who they defeated. Love to hear from you, Doggies fans. If you are watching, get in the comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know the immediate reaction post, obviously, what has happened today. Okay. Plenty obviously happened when it came to the build up to this game. You're all out partying around Belmore from about 8 o'clock this morning, I've seen. So you're all absolutely loving it. You all got out in force. I just got to say it again. It just feels like you're a victim of everything that's happened in the last 2 to 3 months, all the mixed matching. I made a note today that it just felt like a team that didn't really know each other. They just looked lost at times. They just were very unsure of what people were doing. Not going to blame the person that probably a lot will, because we'll talk about him in a second. I actually think he had a really good game today. So definitely not on him. I just think they got a lesson today, and it's funny that they've got so many ex-Penrith players there, but they literally got a lesson from the boss. That the boss turned up today at work and just said, follow us, and it felt like it was a bunch of apprentices, and they're just not quite ready yet. And they just looked that way for so much of this game. As Jake said, probably the first 2 minutes, you're thinking, oh, hang on, the Dogs have turned up here. And then after that, it's like, well, see you later. It didn't really happen for him. Trav, it was look, they got second week. We all basically predicted this would happen. So we're not surprised, but from a podcast point of view and a talking point, it does seem like it's a bit of a self-implosion has been the reason what has happened today has happened.
Yeah, look, today happened 15 weeks ago. Like it's just the culmination of that. We've spoken about to the nth degree. Everyone's literally spoken about it. Like we all agree, he's simply the best. Dun, 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 better than all.
Don't do that. Yeah, I'll get to mute him.
Yeah, yeah, like it's literally just the culmination of something that happened more than 15 weeks ago, and it's now just happened. They haven't been able to figure it out. They need to go to it. They need a massive off season. They're going to get it. I'm actually really disappointed today because I really wanted Sexton to really stand up today. I wanted that to happen. I wanted this to be a close game, and I wanted it for him. It was the only reason.
Couldn't get in the game.
He deserved it, man, for what he had to go through, and then the way that he played last week when he came on, and what they had to do, and even then, as they went into the game, he was told, "Oh yeah, we're going to you won't play unless there's injuries, but we're going to give you a few minutes at hooker." So, but they still dropped him on the bench, and then he goes out and does what he did last week, and I really it was that moment. It was a real big career defining moment today for him, and I really feel for him. Yeah, unfortunately, it just didn't play out, and Penrith just literally they outclassed them, they outcoached them, they dominated the field, they dominated every spot. Just simple as that. Really, just simple as that.
Hey, Trav, you got yourself a little donation here by Adam. Thank you very much, mate. Top analyst, Trav. Well done, mate.
Appreciate that, Adam, man. Thank you. Is it more the analysis or just the fact of my singing skills are elite?
Hope it wasn't that. Jake, I'll throw to you at this talking point because I think it's quite relevant here because of who we both support, and we've actually, our team, funnily enough, has been able to do it a few times to Penrith. But I also feel like the Dogs went into today with that mentality of we're going to win this sort of 8 points to 6, which was wrong. They weren't ever going to do that when you get to this sort of game. You look at the forward packs and compare, they were well below Penrith when it comes to the forward pack and how they perform. You're actually going to beat the Penrith Panthers by playing some football. You're actually going to be trying to score points. We've seen it with the Broncos in the grand final 2 years ago, how they were playing and it got the Penrith almost out of the game. The Broncos actually stopped playing. Our side, the Eels, have beaten Penrith a number of times over the last couple of years by simply playing some football against Penrith. I just feel like the tactics today against Penrith, I know Penrith defensively were really, really good and probably didn't allow Dogs to do too much in itself, which is great credit to Penrith. But for the Dogs' point of view, it just looked like their original game plan, because they did adapt on the run because they had to. They were chasing 30-odd points. They started off with a really poor game plan.
Yeah, I think when you're versing the Panthers, it is suicide to try to get into a grind with them because they are the experts at it. There is no team. And it almost sucks because that's what kind of the Dogs' style this season has been. They've been beating their teams in that sense of they've usually been grinding them out and then beating them, kind of similar to the way we've seen Panthers do it. But tonight just showed that they are the experts of it. I think if you really want to beat the Panthers, especially in finals, you almost need to try to blow them out of the park early. You need to try to score with everything you've got in that first 10 minutes. You need to score a try or two, even get yourself up, get some confidence, and then stop trying to defend the lead. They never they got 2 points. It's not really a lead. Let's be honest here. It's whatever. The Bulldogs played 2 through the middle for the side that they had. That's what my opinion is. I think they had speed on both edges. I mean, Birdo's not necessarily the fastest, but he's a big, powerful body. They didn't use that. And Sherry's fast, as so's Karaz. So, they had pace to burn on the outsides and didn't quite use it as much as I think they should have. And the main thing for me is you're just never going to beat Penrith in a war of attrition. You can't do that, and you can't come into it. Eventually, Lachlan Galvin started playing using Jacob Preston, which is probably what he should have been doing a lot of the time because he's up against Blaze Talangi. He started using him, and they started making headway, and then he kind of went away from it again. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Okay, a 2-point lead.
Yeah,
2-point lead.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
all right.
Sorry, you're right, Chris.
Let's remember. No. Hang on.
I'm not a math teacher.
Yeah, I was gonna. I love that you did.
Yeah, I know what you were gonna say.
I know what you were gonna
say, Trav. I was all over it, mate.
Exactly
I know exactly what you were gonna say. I know what you were gonna say, mate. I didn't need you to say it. Rubbish.
You're stereotyping the PE teachers so much right now. So just,
God,
I'll save you.
At least I'm in the education system. I can.
I'll save you here. You mentioned him, but I just want to give a bit of credit actually to get Lachlan Galvin because I actually think, and I said it off air, Trav disagreed slightly, so he'll probably do it again, but I actually think it was his best game in a Dogs jersey since arriving at the club. I actually think he was really good today. In a well-beaten side that really had not much going for him, it felt like. And surprise, in his natural position of 5'8", hello, stop overcoaching it and overthinking it, Bulldogs. He played his best game of the year. So it was like he had his Tigers jersey on of last year, how he was almost probably top 3 5'8" in the game by the end of the year. He had a really good combination, like you said, with Jacob Preston throughout the game. And it just is something that if I was the Bulldogs moving forward, I'm sitting down going, you know what? I know we've probably spoken about full halfback with him and that. He's shown us now he clearly isn't a halfback. Look at what he's just done as 5'8", a bit more room to move and a bit more time to make some decisions. And look what he's come up with. So I know there'll be lots post this, and when people are unraveling the Dog season, there will be a lot to talk about when it comes to Galvin. But I actually want to give him some credit where it's due and just say I actually think he had a bloody ripping job today, Trav.
Oh yeah, I didn't disagree that I thought he played a really good game in the context of this game and where they were. I thought Preston was by clear and away the best player on the field for the Bulldogs, and I don't think there's an argument there. The one thing I liked about the Galvin game this week is, according to the NRL stats, and even then whilst I was watching, I was like, the one thing I liked is that Galvin touched the ball a lot, but he didn't run it a lot. He only had 5 runs and 50 meters. And now when Galvin is doing that, I think Galvin's much better. All right. And the team becomes much better. When Galvin has to try and do a lot of running, make a lot of big plays, do it himself, that's when there's problems. That's when Galvin has problems. And I think, to be fair, I reckon Galvin had some really good games of that last year, but I think more often than not, he was better when he wasn't, when the ball was in his hands a lot, and he was running side to side and making plays and setting them up, not his better games of when he was running through the lines and getting himself tackled and stopping and playing stop-start. That's not Galvin. And today he was like, he played. I don't think it was his best game of the season, but I see why you say it. I thought he was good, but yeah.
Jakey boy, can you start us off on the next game? The Raiders versus the Sharkies. The Raiders, for mine, unfortunately, fall victim to hangover from last week. It just has clearly taken a lot out of them mentally, physically. It was just how dejected they were after last week, but they were probably the day or two after that. And then all of a sudden they're thinking, shit, we've got to play in 2 or 3 days' time. They do that. They started fairly well. That they were decent to start, but then credit, and we'll go to the Sharkies shortly, so don't shoot us down, Chris. We will get there. We'll just focus on the Raiders quickly. They were just not quite there. Now, my big one to you, Jake, to talk about, Jamal Fogarty. He's probably saved his 2 worst games till last, and unfortunately, that's what he'll probably be remembered for now. The guy that couldn't quite deliver him when they needed it the most, the direction, the kicking. We just spoke about Cleary for a while, about how good his kicking game is now. Yes, Cleary's different levels, but what he's showing to all these other halfbacks out there is that you literally need to make sure your kicking game is down pat to start with. And I just didn't feel like Fogarty for this final series, so like in this final series for the Raiders, didn't really grab it with both hands. He left a bit missing and a bit out in the field. He'll probably be sitting there today and thinking, shit, like I really did, like I didn't leave the club in the best I probably could have left it now. What were you making of the Jamal Fogarty performance last night?
Oh, I think he was definitely a bit quiet. Like I don't think that he stamped his authority on the game, which I think is interesting, especially because Ethan Strange was out and they had Simi Sasangi playing 5'8". Can I ask, because I actually haven't seen much of him, is that his natural position? Just quickly before I continue.
No. And there's a little bit of an off path there that we can. I actually want to quickly have a bit of a vent about things. Sorry, I'll just need to say this.
Yeah. No, you go, then I'll go.
Ethan Sanders was obviously in the squad, cut back with what happened, and then he obviously, by the rules, according to the rules, he can't play because the bench was cut, and by the time Strange is actually ruled out, who was physically ill, coughing up blood and everything, like it was apparently really bad. We have to then sit through in a finals game, especially, and I think these rules should be changed throughout. We have to sit through the Raiders playing forward at 5'8" instead of a young guy who has history and can play both 5'8" and halfbacks in the squad originally. I just think it's actual bullshit. And I think the NRL needs to start looking at these sorts of things and thinking, what's better for the spectacle of our game overall? Like, was that the best? No, it wasn't. What would have been better was maybe the other half actually coming into the squad. So my thing moving forward would be just have like a squad of 6 on the bench or something, and they're just there on the bench and can be part of it into the start of the game. And then once the game starts, you can only use 4 of those players, but then the other 2 you can't play with whatsoever. But it allows for any late outs, things like what happened yesterday. It would have been much better to see Sanders come in over them having to force to play Sasangi out of position, who he's been phenomenal all year, no doubt about that. He has played 1 or 2 games there, but it definitely mixed up the Raiders as a whole. And I just think that rule is a bit picky. I just don't like it, but go on, Jake.
Okay, yeah. So my main sort of point was I feel a bit bad on this back end for Foggy, at least in this game, but at the same time, I kind of want to go, you had to stand up here because Simi wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to be your guy, right? Like Strange had the opportunity to, if he was there, he might have stepped in, and we've seen how he plays. And he, even in the last game against the Broncos, like Strange had a big game. He played really well. So it's a huge out for them. I want to come back a little bit to your point. So I think Fogarty, I'll say this, he was quiet when he needed to stand up, and you're right. He probably left it out on the field. He'll be feeling that. I want to come back a little bit to your point you made earlier, though, on the fact that, yes, they would have had a little bit of a hangover off that last game. Like, they would have been a little bit tired. But that can't be their cop-out for this, in my opinion. So my big thing there is that they are professional athletes. They are paid to, like, obviously not only train, but obviously, like, recover. That's their job. They 3 days of, like, harsh recovery and things, or 4 days, whatever it is, of recovery before a game is plenty if you are, like, properly making sure that you're doing everything right. Plus, they are at the fittest. They're at peak fitness right now at the end of the season. That's not an excuse, because last game against the Broncos, they did the same thing. It actually had nothing to do, in my opinion, with, like, tiredness or fatigue in that sense, in the sense that unless they're unprepared, they had a lull of 15 minutes where they got towed up. Very similar thing happened in this game. For a period of time, they turned off. Do you agree with me on that?
Yes. Yeah, they were poor. I don't think they'll use it as an excuse. I just think that it was very. You could just see how much it has impacted them, and they're human. Like they're human, but I think Ricky will probably be regretting choosing the Sunday game to start with and not having the shorter backup where they had no one playing the week before anyway. It wouldn't have mattered. It was just a silly option for him to start with. So I think that would be the bigger one there. And then having a short turnaround to come into this game, which was always a possibility, was where I think the Raiders have made their big mistake for the year.
I just think personally that they were a team that 2 times in a row had a lull. And I don't think that lull in the second game was any different from the one in the first game when they were just as prepared. I think it's a mental thing. I think that they lost a bit of steel in the back end of in the second half. They lost some steel. Same thing as they did against the Broncos, and that just, in my opinion, showed weakness. I don't think they deserved to go out in straight sets based on the way they played in the season, but the way they played in the finals, they actually deserved it. Does that make that was a bit counterproductive, but it made sense in my head.
I'll let Trav say something.
We all sort of, here's the thing. I'll say this. We all predicted that the Raiders, and there was comments that if it was going to be a team that was going to go out in straight sets, it was going to be the Raiders. Like, we sort of did say it, but yet we still picked the Raiders because, but we all said it because, but yet we still tipped the Raiders to win the games because it's the Raiders. They were on top of the ladder. They dominated for the year. They were all rested. They were very rested. I'm not. They had those 2 buys in the last third of the year. They rested players in that last game. They were very well rested. And I said in the previous
the resting was a mistake.
No, I don't have a problem with the resting. I don't think that they played poor because they had lost continuity through restings and things like that. I think they just got outclassed. They weren't able to match the finals intensity. They got exposed for not having big game players. They got exposed for not having big game playmakers.
Which is not their fault.
Ethan Strange is out this week. That hurt them. Kaya Weeks didn't step up today. Yesterday. It was a really big opportunity for him to have a big week, and he didn't. He dropped away. He was barely there. Like, you're watching the commentators just constantly calling out for him. Be the first receiver, Weeks. Be the first receiver, and he very rarely was, if at all. He had that opportunity. I actually thought Fogarty's kicking game was fantastic last night. I thought the issue with Fogarty was his management. He couldn't get that team, which is something that Fogs has been able to do all year this year and did really well last year as well. And unfortunately, they just got lost. And I think they got lost because, and I want to give full credit that the reason why they played the way they played was because the opposition had big moments. The Raiders actually dominated that first half. It was only the last 8 to 10 minutes or so that the Sharks stepped up, and then that's when they blew them off the park. The Sharks were horrible in the first 30 minutes, like the errors and that. I remember one key point where who was it? Who was the commentator of that game? Was it Guinane? And he made the comment of, if the Sharks go into this game only 6 points down at halftime, they're going to go. They'll blow the Raiders off the park. Because they've been the errors, their completion rate was just atrocious. The reason why they were there was because their defense, unlike the Sharks, was very, very good. And then the Sharks' defense in the second half was great. And then the offense just backed up off what happened in the first 10 minutes. I also thought that the Sharks played really well in the Raiders played quite well to start the second half. The Sharks' defense was really good again. And the issue was that they didn't have those playmakers. They didn't have the big game finals superstar that all other 3 teams or all other finals teams have. They don't have that. They don't have that yet. This will come out in the review, but I fear the loss of Fogarty and what's going to happen with the Raiders next year. And based off what I saw in these finals period, like I make the comment, and I've said this heaps. I say it through all sports. You got to lose one to win one. Like, they lost one today, but I think this is like franchise defining. I think this was bad. And I don't like, I really have fear around what happened and how they've played the last 2 games. That game last week against the Broncos, I fear for the ramifications and what's going to happen to the Raiders moving forward based off one big game. That's a big call, maybe a silly one, but
that is a massive call. They're a very young squad, young in multiple key positions that they should be around each other for a while to come. I don't think it's a massive implication for how they'll continue on. I think they will continue to build, but there's a lot of pressure next year on Ethan Sanders to come in and start to play some really good football from the start.
I like Strange. I do. I really like Strange, but I don't think he's not a traditional 5'8" that they need. I don't know if Sanders can do the game management that Fogarty has. I
Strange.
think that,
Hang on.
Yeah,
Strange is
I
coming
don't
off
agree with
the
that.
5/8 of the year.
yeah, but Strange is not your. Yeah, this is different. Like they're going to lose Fogarty next year. It's a completely different thing that he's going to have to do next year. It's going to be very
But
different.
that's up to Ricky Short as coach to make the relevant changes. Don't
And hence
change.
the reason why
You
I've got
can't
fear.
change Strange's game just because you've lost. And they decided to move on Fogarty as well.
I'll talk about the review that you're not understanding what I'm trying to say. That's okay.
Well, you're also saying that Ethan Sanders can't like take a team around the park. He did win a grand final in SG Ball in 2023 for Para, so it's not as if he's done nothing yet so far. Like he's a pretty talented player.
I agree. I think
remains to be seen. Remains to be seen.
I think I agree with you, Jacob. I think with Strange, he is him. He's a fantastic player, and it's up to now Sanders to make sure he can continue to bring out the best of Strange and make sure he's the one that organises everything. I think that the big calling a spade here is the fact that their right edge was just torn apart once again, and it's been a problem for them now throughout pretty much the whole year, and it's just unfortunately they haven't been able to fix it at all. And that's the side where Fogarty is. You'd think with that sort of talk, it would probably be their strongest side, but defensively they was just really, really poor. Go the Sharkies there because I want to take much more away from the Sharks. The fact that I'm trying to say this the most respectful way possible, that I felt like it was just a complete all-round team performance. Like I know Hines was really good. Hines was their standout for sure, and he really stood up. There's been lots of criticism for Hines for some time now when it comes to big games. He tends to go missing and let Trinder do everything. This was the opposite. He really stood up and wanted the ball, was all over the shot, which I loved. He was playing and running the football, passing it, loved everything he did. But from the Sharks' point of view as a whole, apart from him, when you look at everyone else, it's very hard to judge who was your second best player. Like, all over it. They were just fantastic, in my opinion. It was a really team performance. And I think, Jake, that's why they've actually just obviously come out on top. The fact that they're a proper team now. They don't have the stars, in my opinion. They've got just this team that's on the roll at the moment. They've got all this momentum. I think they're 9 from 10 games or something. They've got all the momentum in the world, and they're rolling off it. Their backline's the strongest it's been now for some time as well. They've got all their backline stars back. Things looking good for the Sharks.
Yeah, it's interesting because, to be honest with you, I was one of those people, and I know there are a lot of them that just did not give them a chance in the finals. I thought if they weren't out in the first game, they were easily out in the second game. Didn't matter who they versed. But to be completely honest with you, they have. I think against the Roosters, in my opinion, they didn't look that good. I thought that they looked bad, and like you both said, in the first 30, they didn't look that great either. But they're managing to win these games despite themselves, almost, which they're like taking a little bit of time to warm into games, which won't, in my opinion, do well if they do the same thing against the Storm. They need to come out in the start of the next game firing, and it's going to be tough for them. I'm not going to, hide that. However, what it feels like is that they're almost trying to take it to everyone who has said that, they can't go any further in this final series. I know that Hines came out and said, like, no one's given us a chance and all this stuff. And like I said, nobody was. But, like, it feels like they've used that as a fuel almost, which I love. Like, they've kind of come together under that whole, like, no one's saying we can do this. So if we, can't do this, why not just go out there and just do our best and just have a bit of fun with it almost? And it seems like that's what they're doing. That being said, they're going up against a rested Storm next week. I'm going for the Sharks. I'll tell you this out on air right now. Go the Sharkies. Let's go. Like, I want them to win because I have to go on someone's bandwagon, and I don't want Storm to win, and I don't want Panthers to win, and I don't want the Broncos to win. So come on, the Sharkies, please prove me wrong. Win the comp. Let's go.
To be fair, with regards to Hines' comments, I still think no one's rating the Sharks because you go into this weekend.
No.
I know they've been good the last couple of weeks. They're probably the fourth ranked side coming into this. Like, I feel like that's fair to say. So at the moment, people are still not rating the Sharks. Whether that's right or wrong, that's just unfortunately how it will be. Trav, the Sharks' performance, it was. Do you agree, or was it just an all-round team performance, or you got a few more standouts?
It was definitely an all-round team performance. If they play 30 minutes like they played against the Raiders, plus then come out the second half for that first 5-10 minutes, I think that's a problem against the Storm. They're not going to be able to do that. I always laugh at teams and players when they say, like what you're saying, Jake, about, everyone writes us off, no one cares, and they've got to use that as their ammunition to step up and play. Like, I just think that's ridiculous. You're in finals, you're playing. Like, if that's what you've got to use to try and pep yourself up, then you're in trouble. I just think that's silly. But I'm going to give full credit. And I said this in our little group amongst all of our League of Inches staff, Joel, that that game was very much like moments of brilliance and then absolute garbage, like of the Sharks. And it was literally moments of brilliance and they blew the Raiders off the park. And then there was just absolute garbage. There wasn't, teams will have lulls in games. That's what happens. It's okay. But the problem I've got with the Sharks is that they don't just have a lull and they drop away for a little bit. Then they have to go on a grind and defend out for a bit and that, because, it's sport. We're human. There's ebbs and flows. And the problem I've got with the Sharks is that they don't just have that. They have absolute garbage. And that's going to be a problem if next week. And that's going to be an even bigger problem if they make it to the grand final. If they have those types of moments, they're in trouble. But the thing is, and I said this in the review against the Roosters, is that I think the Sharks, that the good thing for them is that, like, they've got the ability to fix it up. It's just about whether they do it, and they can, and it is problem. But yeah, I'm eager to see what they bring. But I thought Brayley, like, I looked at Brayley's stats on the week from yesterday, and NRL only has 52 meters. I actually thought he had triple that. Like, watching the game without looking at stats, I thought Brayley, the amount of scoop and runs that he had, I'm dumbfounded to see that he only had 52 run meters. I thought Brayley was best on the ground yesterday. I thought Kale Iro is just a freaking monster. He will go down in the next. He'll be. Oh God, we're blessed for centers in the competition at the moment. But I'm going to put him down to at least being a top. It's hard because I can't say that he's going to go past Crichton and Herbie. Oh my God, that's a big call. So I'm not going to do that. But he'll be top 3 because he's a freak, man. Like, unreal how and what he is doing at the moment. And to come back from that, I thought Mulatalo. He's just that guy, and he's that. Well, I was gonna give him a bit of a nickname, and then I decided as I went through not to do it. But
you're about to give him a cow nickname. What are you going to call him?
No. I was gonna do. No, I won't. I'll leave it. But it's not. It wasn't going to be groundbreaking or anything like that, or get me in trouble. But yeah. But he's that dog that you need in a team in the finals, and I really like. But what I thought was he wasn't over the top yesterday either. But he was just that in your face, and I liked what he did there. I do have a fear about what AFB is going to do to the Storm next week. He just looks like he's warming up. I didn't think he was a dominating force last night, but God, he was good against that massive pack. And I thought he was great. And I feel like he's just warming up. He's going to be a monster next week. I can't wait to see him. Yeah. And also I'll give a little bit of credit because I said, and I know with Savs from the SC Experience who's floating around, I wasn't really keen on Calhoun. And I thought he was pretty good last night. So I'm going to give him some credit where it's due because I gave him a bit of a ride a couple of weeks ago. And I thought he was really good. And then one other thing that I'd like to talk about is Talakai. God, he was in a mood. Was he not in a mood when he came on in that first half? And he was single-handedly brought back into the game. God, that was good to watch. I love seeing those dogs like that just come on, just in big spurts and just absolutely power through people.
And to be fair, the Raiders bench has always been good as well. And he came on and just completely changed the momentum against some really quality players. I want to double down on that AFB shout as well. 66 minutes. He was asked to play a lot more minutes. Fitzy said that in the presser as well. Obviously, they lost Hazleton very, very early, so that sort of mucked up their forward rotation. And AFB apparently has just jumped on board everything, all in at the moment with that club, and just basically said, mate, I'll stay on. I'll stay on for as long as you need me to. And he just kept going. So humongous first stint against two of the best middles in our game at the moment in Tapne and Big Papa. Has had some incredible moments this year, but for him to do what he did, I know he wasn't quite the alpha what we've used to seeing, but I just think the fact he stood there, he got through his work consistently. He had a phenomenal performance by the Sharks and really led that middle. And then obviously we just spoke about it. Then Talakai came on and doubled down on what AFB was doing, and by then, like a star, we spoke last week. The star-studded pack that the Raiders had, the Sharks really needed to go to another level, and I do think a few of their players actually did that, and that's the reason they're into the next round. I was really impressed by that forward pack. Any final comments on the forward pack, Jake? You good?
No, I'm just adding in just that I think Talakai also, yeah, I love the people that come off the bench and just I love when you can see immediately the impact that a player makes, especially off the bench. Like I just think that's so great to watch because you just think, wow, like they're so important to this team, and Talakai did that well.
Yep, I agree. Final point for the night. I just wanted to quickly talk about Friday. I was sitting there. I made a joke that shout out to the missus and the kids that I actually realised I've got a missus and a kid, a couple of kids, when I was just sitting there at the lounge watching a movie and going, oh, hang on, well, who are you guys? But it was just very weird, very strange at this time of year. Obviously, the big games are on, to not have anything on Friday night. And I think from the NRL point of view, they effectively, what they did was they gave the AFL a free kick virtually and a free punch of the gut, really, because there's a lot of people we know out there who I hadn't seen in messages and chats and that who literally said that was the first game they've watched of AFL in a long, long time. Now, I don't watch it. I just can't get around it. I don't like it. It's not my game, and that's what I have to say about it. But to give that option to a lot of the fans, I think the NRL's really stuffed up there, especially when Volandis seems to have this hatred towards the AFL. Anytime you give them a free pass when it comes to the ratings and things like that, I think it's a huge error. I was shocked when I seen then on Saturday that we had 2 NRLW games then into the NRL game. And let's take into account we've just had 27 weeks straight of playing 3 games nonstop, where with the NRL coming in, there were some days where on Saturdays, I think there was 5 games being played. That's just a lot. That's a lot of football for people to sit down. I think we've all been fatigued from that. To then come into things and then give still got 3 games to go on the Saturday. I think they should have moved an NRLW game to the Friday night, and they should have played an NRLW game. We have seen in the past when they do their State of Origins, it's actually rates really well. People do get around it. So I was just shocked that the NRL decided to not play a single thing. I think it was just a really bad error on the NRL's part. Jake, I don't think you're too into that dreadful other code, but it did seem odd that they gave him a free pass.
It did. Look, I wouldn't say that I hate or love AFL. I know it exists. I being a PE teacher, especially have to teach about it and stuff, but I wouldn't say I definitely obviously love NRL significantly more. But I'm with you in the sense that they had the opportunity to. Like the NRL had the opportunity to make games on that day. I just don't see any reason just why they wouldn't. Like there's no real reasoning here that's making me look at it and go, yeah, 100%, that makes sense. I just can't see any reason why they would do it. And I think that, yeah, definitely they missed an opportunity.
Yeah. Trav, you can have the final say here.
No, I disagree entirely. I love it. I love what they did. I love that it did not clash at all. I have no problems with the NRL coming on a Friday. That's fine. Yeah, they probably miss, if anything, if there was a missed opportunity, that was what they did then. They should have put it so that there was NRL on the same time as an AFL game. But Friday night, AFL, I think it was 108,000 at the game. Huge moment. Saturday afternoon, AFL had a game at 5:10, and then the NRL came on at 7:50. Love that. And then, so there was no clash at all. And then today, the Sunday game, it was prime. So, like, there was not a clash between anything. There was only a little bit of the end of the second half of the AFL that clashed with maybe 5 minutes of the NRL on Saturday. But otherwise, there was nothing. There was absolutely no. So everyone could literally sit down and watch whatever. For people like me who like both sports, was able to tune into both. That I didn't have to pick. I went back. I went either or and watched both of them. I have absolutely zero qualms with what they did. And to be fair, I also love the Sunday night. I love the Sunday, Arvo.
Yeah, I love the Sunday Arvo footy as well. It was sort of like for me, choose Friday night or a Sunday Arvo. I'll pretty much choose Sunday Arvo every time. That was awesome today. But yeah, I just didn't like it. I think the NRL is now giving the AFL some free passages. Now it will be 2 weeks in a row because next week not having Saturday game.
You could almost say vice versa. The fact that the NRL just dominated a Sunday, like a full-blown Sunday, was all NRL. There was no AFL. Like you could say that
it's slightly different on the other side of the fence though, because AFL haven't had Sundays now for a couple of weeks. They don't normally do their finals on a Sunday. Apart from the first week, they will. But the rest of that,
the first week because there's 4 games. Yep.
Yeah, they don't. So I feel like it's slightly
but actually,
different.
No, this year they didn't do a Sunday. They did a Thursday, Friday, and 2 Saturday games.
Well, there you go. They don't want Sunday at all. So, yeah, it is what it is. But hey, that's it. That's all we've got time for. That's all the jibber jab we will do. Obviously, we'll have the Supercoach show again on Tuesday night. Yeah, Tuesday night it is. And Wednesday, we'll have our preview show coming up with Savs at Supercoach Experience. Hang on. I was about to sign off. Jesse's just in on the look. You AFL fans, good on you. You get more at the crowds. We're not talking about that. Like, cool. We actually, today was cool for us. It was going there. There was what was it, 60, 70,000 there today. So that was a decent fan. We all know AFL.
It was only
AFL always go to their crowds like big whoop. It's completely different. Melbourne people are down there just. They live and breathe it. That's all they have to look forward to every week because Melbourne's a shithole. So they go and pack out the MCG and go, how cool is this for what? How long's the game go for? 6 hours or something. So yeah, God, you get points. You celebrate missing the main target. As Josh said before, guys are kicking out in the full and the commentators are going off about it like big whoop. Anyway, that's my say. Thanks, Jake. Beautiful. Thanks, Trav. Goodbye.